Winter time nighes, but my bereavement pain it cannot bring again. Twice no one dies. Flower petals flee, but since it once hath been, no more that severing scene can harrow me. Birds faint in dread, I shall not lose old strength in the lone frost's black length, strength long since fled. Leaves freeze to dun, but friends cannot turn cold this season as of old for him with none. Tempests may scath, but love cannot make smart again this year his heart, who no heart hath. Black is night's cope, but death will not appall one who, past doubtings all, waits in unhope. The thick lids of night closed upon me, alone at the bill of the isle by the race, many-caverned, bald, wrinkled of face, and with darkness and silence the spirit was on me, to brood and be still. No wind fanned the flats of the ocean, or promontory sides, or the ooze by the strand, or the bent bearded slope of the land, whose base took its rest amid ever-long motion of criss-crossing tides. Soon from out of the southward seemed nearing a whir as of wings, waved by mighty vanned flies, or by night moths of measureless size, and in softness and smoothness well-nigh beyond hearing of corporal things. And they bore to the bluff and alighted, a dim discerned train of sprites without mould, frameless souls none might touch or might hold, on the ledge by the turreted lantern, far-sighted by men of the main. And I heard them say, home, and I knew them for souls of the feld on the earth's nether board, under Capricorn whither they'd ward, and I neared in my awe, and gave heedfulness to them with breathings inhaled. Then it seemed there approached from the northward a senior soul flame of the like filmy hue, and he met them and spake, Is it you, O my men? Said they, Aye, we bear homeward and hearthward to feast on our fame. I've flown there before you, he said then. Your households are well, but your kin linger less on your glory and war mightiness than on dearer things. Dearer, cried these from the dead then, of what do they tell? Your mothers muse sadly and murmur your doings as boys. Recall the quaint ways of your babyhood's innocent days. Some pray that ere dying your faith had grown firmer and higher your joys. A father broods, would I had set him to some humble trade, and so slacked his high fire and his passionate martial desire, and told him no stories to woo him and whet him to this dire crusade. And General, how old are our sweethearts, sworn loyal as doves? Many mourn, many think it is not unattractive to prink them in sable for heroes. Some fickle and fleet hearts have found them new loves. And our wives, quoth another resignedly, dwell they on our deeds? Deeds of home that live yet fresh as new, deeds of fondness or fret, ancient words that were kindly expressed or unkindly, these have their heeds. Alas, then it seems that our glory weighs less in their thoughts than our old homely acts and the long-ago commonplace facts of our lives, held by us as scarce part of our story and rated as naught. Then bitterly some, was it wise now to raise the tomb door for such knowledge? Away. But the rest, fame we prize till today, yet that hearts keep us green for old kindness we prize now 1,000 times more. Thus speaking, the trooped apparitions began to disband and resolve them in two. Those whose record was lovely and true bore northward for home. Those of bitter traditions again left the land. And towering to seaward in legions, they paused at a spot overbending the race. That engulfing, ghast, sinister place, with a headlong they plunged to the fathomless regions of myriads forgot. And the spirits of those who were homing passed on rushingly like the Pentecost wind. And the whir of their wayfaring thinned and surceased on the sky, and but left in the gloaming sea mutterings and me. Close up the casement, draw the blind, shut out that stealing moon. She wears too much the guise she wore before our lutes were strewn with years' deep dust, and names we read on a white stone were hewn. Step not forth on the dew-dashed lawn to view the lady's chair. Immense Orion's glittering form, the less and greater bear. Stay in. To such sights we were drawn when faded ones were fair. Brush not the bough for midnight scents that come forth lingeringly, and wake the same sweet sentiments they breathe to you and me, when living seemed a laugh, and love all it was said to be. Within the common lamp-lit room prison my eyes and thought, let dingy details crudely loom, mechanic speech be wrought. Too fragrant was life's early bloom, too tart the fruit it brought. Who now remembers Almac's balls, Willis's sometimes named, in those two smooth-floored upper halls for faded ones so famed, where as we trod to trilling sound, the fancied phantoms stood around, or joined us in the maze of the powdered deers from Georgian years, whose dust lay in sightless, sealed-up ears, the fairest of former days. Who now remembers gay Cremorne and all its jaunty Jills, and those wild whirling figures born of Julian's grand quadrilles, with hats on head and mourning coats, there footed to his prancing notes, our partner girls and we. And the gas jets winked and the lustres clinked, and the platform throbbed as with arms enlinked we moved to the minstrelsy. Who now recalls those crowded rooms of old yclept the Argyle, where to the deep drum polka's booms we hopped in standard style? Whither have danced those damsels now? Is death the partner who doth moo their wormy chaps and bear? Do their spectres spin like sparks within the smoky halls of the Prince of Sin, to a thunderous Julian air? Let me enjoy the earth no less because the all-enacting might that fashioned forth its loveliness had other aims than my delight. About my path there flits a fair, who throws me not a word or sign. I'll charm me with her ignoring air, and lord the lips not meant for mine. From manuscripts of moving song, inspired by scenes and dreams unknown, I'll pour out raptures that belong to others as they were my own. And some day hence towards paradise and all its blessed, if such should be, I will lift glad afar off eyes, though it contain no place for me. That night your great guns unawares shook all our coffins as we lay, and broke the chancel window squares. We thought it was the judgment day, and sat upright, while drearisome arose the howl of wakened hounds. The mouse let fall the altar crumb, the worms drew back into the moles, the glebe cow drooled, till God called, no, it's gunnery practice out at sea. Just as before you went below, the world is as it used to be. All nations striving strong to make red war yet redder. Mad as hatters, they do no more for Christ's sake than you who are helpless in such matters. That this is not the judgment hour for some of them's a blessed thing, for if it were they'd have to scar hell's floors for so much threatening. Aha, it will be warmer when I blow the trumpet, if indeed I ever do, for you are men and rest eternal sorely need. So down we lay again. I wonder, will the world ever saner be, said one, than when he sent us under in our indifferent century? And many a skeleton shook his head. Instead of preaching 40 year, my neighbor, Parson Thirdly, said, I wish I'd stuck to pipes and beer. Again the guns disturbed the hour, roaring their readiness to avenge, as far inland as Sturton Tower and Camelot and starlit Stonehenge. While rain, with eve in partnership, descended darkly, drip, 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 beyond the last lone lamp I passed, walking slowly, whispering sadly, two linked loiterers, one downcast. Some heavy thought constrained each face and blinded them to time and place. The pair seemed lovers, yet absorbed in mental scenes no longer orbed by love's young rays. Each countenance, as it sadly caught the lamplight's yellow glance, held in suspense a misery at things which had been or might be. When I retrod that watery way some hours beyond the droop of day, still I found pacing there the twain just as slowly, just as sadly, heedless of the night and rain. One could but wonder who they were and what wild woe detained them there. Though 30 years of blur and blot have slid since I beheld that spot, and saw in curious converse there, moving slowly, moving sadly, that mysterious tragic pair, its olden look may linger on, all but the couple, they have gone. Whither? Who knows, indeed? And yet, to me, when nights are weird and wet, without those comrades there at tryst, creeping slowly, creeping sadly, that lone lane does not exist. There they seem brooding on their pain, and will, while such a lane remain. There are some heights in Wessex, shaped as if by a kindly hand for thinking, dreaming, dying on. And at crises when I stand, say on Ingpen Beacon eastward or on Will's Neck westwardly, I seem where I was before my birth, and after death, maybe. In the lowlands I have no comrade, not even the lone man's friend, her who suffereth long and is kind, accepts what he is too weak to mend. Down there they are dubious and askance, there nobody thinks as I. But mind chains do not clank where one's next neighbor is the sky. In the towns I am tracked by phantoms, having weird detective ways, shadows of beings who fellowed with myself of earlier days. They hang about at places and they say harsh, heavy things, men with a wintry sneer and women with tart disparagings. Down there I seem to be false to myself, my simple self that was and is not now. And I see him watching, wondering what crass cause can have merged him into such a strange continuator as this, who yet has something in common with himself, my chrysalis. I cannot go to the great grey plain. There's a figure against the moon, nobody sees it but I, and it makes my breast beat out of tune. I cannot go to the tall spired town, being barred by the forms now past for everybody but me, in whose long vision they stand there fast. There's a ghost at Yell'ham Bottom, chiding loud at the fall of the night. There's a ghost in Froomside Vale, thin-lipped and vague in a shroud of white. There is one in the railway train, whenever I do not want it near. I see its profile against the pane, saying what I would not hear. As for one rare fair woman, I am now but a thought of hers. I enter her mind, and another thought succeeds me that she prefers. Yet my love for her in its fullness she herself even did not know. Well, time cures hearts of tenderness, and now I can let her go. So I am found on Ingpen Beacon or on Will's Neck to the west, or else on homely Bulborough or little Pilsden Crest, where men have never cared to haunt, nor women have walked with me, and ghosts then keep their distance, and I know some liberty. Sing, ballad singer, raise a hearty tune. Make me forget that there was ever a one I walked with in the meek light of the moon, when the day's work was done. Rhyme, ballad rhymer, start a country song. Make me forget that she whom I loved well swore she would love me dearly, love me long, then what I cannot tell. Sing, ballad singer, from your little book. Make me forget those heartbreaks, achings, fears. Make me forget her name, her sweet, sweet look. Make me forget her tears. These market dames, mid-aged, with lips thin drawn and tissues sere, are they the ones we loved in years agone and courted here? Are these the muslined, pink young things to whom we vowed and swore in nooks on summer Sundays by the Froom or Budmouth shore? Do they remember those gay tunes we trod, clasped on the green? I trod till moonlight set on the beaten sod a satin sheen. They must forget, forget. They cannot know what once they were, or memory would transfigure them and show them always fair. Blacken frowns east on Maiden and westward to the sea, but on neither is his frown laden with scorn as his frown on me. At dawn my heart grew heavy, I could not sip the wine. I left the jocund bevy and that young man o' mine. The roadside elms pass by me. Why do I sink with shame when the birds are perched there eye me? They too have done the same. Nobody took any notice of her as she stood on the causey curb, all eager to sell her honey and apples and bunches of garden herb. And if she had offered to give her wares and herself with them too that day, I doubt if a soul would have cared to take a bargain so choice away. But chancing to trace her sunburnt grace that morning as I passed nigh, I went and I said, "Poor maiden dear, and will none of the people buy?" And so it began, and soon we knew what the end of it all must be. And I found that though no others had bid, a prize had been won by me. And are ye one of Hermitage by Ivell Road? And do you know in Hermitage a thatched-roofed house where sengreens grow? And does John Waywood live there still, he of the name that there abode when father hurdled on the hill some 15 years ago? Does he now speak of Patty Beach, the Patty Beach he used to see? Or ask at all if Patty Beach is known or heard of out this way? Ask ever if she's living yet, and where her present home may be, and how she bears life's fag and fret after so long a day? In years agone at Hermitage, this faded face was counted fair, none fairer, and at Hermitage we swore to wed when he should thrive. But never a chance had he or I, and waiting made his wish outwear, and time, that dooms man's love to die, preserves a maid's alive. The singers are gone from the corn marketplace with their broadsheets of rhymes. The street rings no longer in treble and bass with their skits on the times, and the cross lately thronged is a dim naked space that but echoes the stammering chimes. From clock corner steps as each quarter ding-dongs, away the folk roam by the Hart and Grey's bridge into byways and drongs, or across the ridged loam, the younger ones shrilling the lately heard songs, the old saying, "Would we were home." The shy-seeming maiden so mute in the fair now rattles and talks, and that one who looked the most swaggering there grows sad as she walks, and she who seemed eaten by cankering care in statuesque sturdiness stalks. And midnight clears High Street of all but the ghosts of its buried burgees, from the latest far back to those old Roman hosts whose remains one yet sees, who loved, laughed, and fought, hailed their friends, drank their toasts at their meeting times here, just as these. I found her out there on a slope few see, that falls westwardly to the salt-edged air, where the ocean breaks on the purple strand and the hurricane shakes the solid land. I brought her here and have laid her to rest in a noiseless nest no sea beats near. She will never be stirred in her loamy cell by the waves long heard and loved so well. So she does not sleep by those haunted heights the Atlantic smites and the blind gales sweep, whence she often would gaze at Dundagle's famed head, while the dipping blaze dyed her face fire red, and would sigh at the tale of St. Leoness as a wind-tugged tress flapped her cheek like a flail, or listen at whiles with a thought-bound brow to the murmuring miles she is far from now. Yet her shade, maybe, will creep underground till it catch the sound of that western sea as it swells and sobs where she once domiciled, and joy in its throbs with the heart of a child. Woman much missed, how you call to me, saying that now you are not as you were, when you had changed from the one who was all to me, but as at first when our day was fair. Can it be you that I hear? Let me view you then, standing as when I drew near to the town, where you would wait for me, yes, as I knew you then, even to the original air-blue gown. Or is it only the breeze in its listlessness, traveling across the wet mead to me here, you being ever dissolved to one wistlessness, heard no more again, far or near? Thus I, faltering forward, leaves around me falling, wind oozing thin through the thorn from norward, and the woman calling. Here too I come to view a voiceless ghost. Whither, oh whither will its whim now draw me? Up the cliff, down, till I'm lonely, lost, and the unseen water's ejaculations o'er me. Where you will next be, there's no knowing, facing round about me everywhere, with your nut-colored hair and grey eyes and rose flush coming and going. Yes, I have re-entered your olden haunts at last. Through the years, through the dead scenes, I have tracked you. What have you now found to say of our past, scanned across the dark space wherein I have lacked you? Summers gave us sweets, but autumn wrought division. Things were not lastly as firstly well with us twain, you tell. But all's closed now, despite time's derision. I see what you are doing. You are leading me on to the spots we knew when we haunted here together, the waterfall above which the mist bow shone at the then fair hour, in the then fair weather, and the cave just under with a voice still so hollow that it seems to call out to me from 40 years ago, when you were all aglow and not the thin ghost that I now frailly follow. Ignorant of what there is flitting here to see, the waked birds preen and the seals flop lazily, Soon you will have, dear, to vanish from me, for the stars close their shutters and the dawn whitens hazily. Trust me, I mind not, though life loves the bringing me here. Nay, bring me here again. I'm just the same as when our days were a joy and our paths through flowers. This is the weather the cuckoo likes, and so do I, when showers but tumble the chestnut spikes and nestlings fly, and the little brown nightingale bills his best, and they sit outside at the traveller's rest, and maids come forth sprig muslin dressed, and citizens dream of the south and west, and so do I. This is the weather the shepherd shuns, and so do I, when beeches drip in browns and duns and thresh and ply, and hill-hid tides throb, throw on throw, and meadow rivulets overflow, and drops on gate bars hang in a row, and rooks in families homeward go, and so do I. Queer are the ways of a man I know. He comes and stands in a careworn craze, and looks at the sands and the seaward haze with moveless hands and face and gaze, then turns to go. And what does he see when he gazes so? They say he sees as an instant thing, more clear than today, a sweet soft scene that was once in play by that briny green. Yes, notes alway, warm, real, and keen, what his back years bring, a phantom of his own figuring. Of this vision of his they might say more. Not only there does he see this sight, but everywhere in his brain, day, night, as if on the air it were drawn rose bright, yea, far from that shore does he carry this vision of heretofore. A ghost girl rider, and though toil tried he withers daily, time touches her not, but she still rides gaily in his rapt thought on that shagged and shaly Atlantic spot, and as when, first eyed, draws rein and sings to the swing of the tide. She charged me with having said this and that to another woman long years before, in the very parlor where we sat on a night when the endless pour of rain on the roof and the road below bent the spring of the spirit more and more. So charged she me, and the Cupid's bow of her mouth was hard, and her eyes, and her face, and her white forefinger lifted slow. Had she done it gently, or shown a trace that not too curiously would she view a folly flown ere her rein had place, a kiss might have closed it. But I knew from the fall of each word and the pause between that the curtain would drop upon us two ere long in our play of slave and queen. Man, you two, aren't you one of these rough followers of the criminal, all hanging here about to gather how he's going to bear examination in the hall? She flung disdainful glances on the shabby figure standing at the fire with others there, who warmed them by its flare. Nor indeed, my skipping maiden. I know nothing of the trial here, or criminal, if so he be. I chanced to come this way, and the fire shone out into the dawn, and morning airs are cold now. I, too, was drawn in part by charms I see before me play, that I see not every day. Aha, then laughed the constables, who also stood to warm themselves, the while another maiden scrutinized his features hard, as the blaze threw into contrast every line and knot that wrinkled them, exclaiming, "Why, last night when he was brought in by the guard, you were with him in the yard." "Nay, nay, you teasing wench," I say, "you know you speak mistakenly. Cannot a tired pedestrian who has legged it long and far, here on his way from northern parts, engrossed in humble marketings, come in and rest a while, although judicial doings are afoot by morning star?" "Oh, come, come," laughed the constables. "Why, man, you speak the dialect he uses in his answers. You can hear him up the stairs. So own it, we shan't hurt ye. There he's speaking now. His syllables are those you sound yourself when you were talking unawares, as this pretty girl declares." "And you shudder when his chain clinks," she rejoined. "Oh, yes, I noticed it, and you wince too when those cuffs they gave him echoed to us here. They'll soon be coming down, and you may then have to defend yourself, unless you hold your tongue or go away and keep you clear when he's led to judgment near." "No. I'll be damned in hell if I know anything about the man. No single thing about him more than everybody knows. Must not I even warm my hands, but I am charged with blasphemies?" His face convulses as the morning cock that moment crows, and he droops and turns and goes. He enters, and mute on the edge of a chair sits a thin-faced lady, a stranger there, a type of decayed gentility, and by some small signs he well can guess that she comes to him almost breakfastless. "I have called, I hope I do not err. I am looking for a purchaser of some score volumes of the works of eminent divines I own, left by my father, though it irks my patience to offer them." And she smiles as if necessity were unknown. "But the truth of it is that often whiles I've wished, as I am fond of art, to make my rooms a little smart, and these old books are so in the way." And lightly still she laughs to him, as if to sell were a mere gay whim, and that, to be frank, life were indeed to her not vinegar and gall, but fresh and honey-like, and need no household skeleton at all. "Lalage coming, where is she now, oh? Turning to bow, oh, and smile is she, just at parting, 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 as she is starting to come to me. Where is she now, oh, now and now, oh, shadowing a bough, oh, of hedge or tree, as she is rushing, 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 gossamers brushing to come to me. Lalage's coming, where is she now, oh, climbing the brow of hills I see. Yes, she is nearing, 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 whether unfearing to come to me. Near is she now, oh, now and now, oh, milk the rich cow, oh, forward the tea, shake the down bed for her, linen sheets spread for her, drape round the head for her, coming to me. Lalage's coming, she's nearer now, oh, end anyhow, oh, today's husbandry. Would a gilt chair were mine, slippers of vair were mine, brushes for hair were mine of ivory. What will she think, oh, she who so comely, viewing how homely a sort are we? Nothing resplendent, no prompt attendant, not one dependent pertaining to me. Lalage's coming, where is she now, oh, fain I'd avow, oh, full honestly. Naught here's enough for her, all is too rough for her, even my love for her, poor in degree. She's nearer now, still nearer now, she 'tis, I vow, passing the lea. Rush down to meet her there, call out and greet her there, never a sweeter there, cross it to me. Lalage's come, aye, come is she now, oh, does heaven allow, oh, a meeting to be? Yes, she is here now, here now, here now, nothing to fear now, here's Lalage. Sweet cider is a great thing, a great thing to me. Spinning down to Weymouth town by Ridgeway thirstily, and maid and mistress summoning who tend the hostelry. Oh, cider is a great thing to me. The dance, it is a great thing to me, with candles lit and partners fit for night-long revelry, and going home when day dawning peeps pale upon the lea. Oh, dancing is a great thing to me. Love is, yea, a great thing to me. When having drawn across the lawn in darkness silently, a figure flits like one a wing out from the nearest tree. Oh, love is, yes, a great thing to me. Will these be always great things to me? Let it befall that one will call, Soul, I have need of thee. What then? Joy jaunts, impassioned flings, love and its ecstasy will always have been great things to me. I know not how it may be with others who sit amid relics of householdry that date from the days of their mothers' mothers. But well I know how it is with me, continually. I see the hands of the generations that owned each shiny, familiar thing in play on its knobs and indentations and with its ancient fashioning, still dallying. Hands behind hands, growing paler and paler, as in a mirror a candle flame shows images of itself, each frailer as it recedes, though the eye may frame its shape the same. On the clock's dull dial, a foggy finger moving to set the minutes right, with tentative touches that lift and linger in the wont of a moth on a summer night, creeps to my sight. On this old vial, too, fingers are dancing, as whilom, just over the strings by the nut, the tip of a bow receding, advancing in airy quivers as if it would cut the plaintive gut. And I see a face by that box for tinder, glowing forth in fits from the dark, and fading again as the lintern cinder kindles to red at the flinty spark, or goes out stark. Well, well, it is best to be up and doing. The world has no use for one today who eyes things thus, no aim pursuing. He should not continue in this stay, but sink away. Ah, it's the skeleton of a lady sunshade, here at my feet in the hard rock's chink. Merely a naked sheaf of wires. 20 years have gone with their livers and dyers since it was silked in its white or pink. Moonshine riddles the ribs of the sunshade, no more a screen from the weakest ray, nothing to tell us the hue of its dyes, nothing but rusty bones as it lies in its coffin of stone unseen till today. Where is the woman who carried that sunshade up and down this seaside place? Little thumb standing against its stem, thought perhaps bent on a love stratagem, softening yet more the already soft face. Is the fair woman who carried that sunshade a skeleton, just as her property is, laid in the chink that none may scan? And does she regret, if regret dust can, the vain things thought when she flourished this? When the present has latched its postern behind my tremulous day, and the May month flaps its glad green leaves like wings, delicate filmed as new-spun silk, will the neighbors say, he was a man who used to notice such things? If it be in the dusk, when, like an eyelid's soundless blink, the dewfall hawk comes crossing the shades to alight upon the wind-warped upland thorn, a gazer may think, to him this must have been a familiar sight. If I pass during some nocturnal blackness, mothy and warm, when the hedgehog travels furtively over the lawn, one may say, he strove that such innocent creatures should come to no harm, but he could do little for them, and now he is gone. If, when hearing that I have been stilled at last, they stand at the door, watching the full-starred heavens that winter sees, will this thought rise on those who will meet my face no more? He was one who had an eye for such mysteries. And will any say, when my bell of quittance is heard in the gloom, and a crossing breeze cuts a pause in its outrollings till they rise again as they were a new bell's boom, he hears it not now, but used to notice such things. Only a man harrowing clods in a slow, silent walk, with an old horse that stumbles and nods, half asleep as they stalk. Only thin smoke without flame from the heaps of couch grass, yet this will go onward the same, though dynasties pass. Yonder a maid and her white come whispering by. War's annals will cloud into night, ere their story die. As I drive to the junction of lane and highway, and the drizzle bedrenches the wagonette, I look behind at the fading byway, and see on its slope, now glistening wet, distinctly yet myself and a girlish form benighted in dry March weather. We climbed the road beside a chaise. We had just alighted to ease the sturdy pony's load, when he sighed and slowed. What we did as we climbed and what we talked of matters not much, nor to what it led. Something that life will not be balked of without rude reason till hope is dead and feeling fled. It filled but a minute, but was there ever a time of such quality since or before in that hill story? To one mind, never, though it has been climbed foot swift, foot sore by thousands more. Primeval rocks form the road's steep border, and much have they faced their first and last of the transitory in earth's long order. But what they record in color and cast is that we too passed. And to me, though time's unflinching rigor in mindless rote has ruled from sight to the substance now, one phantom figure remains on the slope as when that night saw us alight. I look and see it there, shrinking, shrinking. I look back at it amid the rain for the very last time. For my sand is sinking, and I shall traverse old love's domain never again.